In this video, I have prepared for you all my theories and concepts from the developers, which will be related to the plot of the second episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. We already have quite a bit of information about the second episode, and therefore, we can already create an idea of what the second episode will be about. I want to tell you about the new locations, the exit from the Amazing Digital Circus, touch on the topic of new characters, and also tell you information from the developers themselves about the second episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. So, let's start with the new locations and rooms that we might be shown in the new episode. Maybe we'll be able to peek into the rooms of old characters that were abstracted earlier. That would be very interesting, because that way we would have some understanding about abstraction. We've seen Kaufmo's room before, and other than the scary drawings and painted walls, there was nothing else interesting. The only thing that was weird was the evil Kane, but I'll come back to that a little later. This begs the question, under what circumstances and in the same way does abstraction happen? Is it that when you're constantly thinking about getting out and end up going crazy, you absolutely have to abstract? And if there are other reasons, we can learn about them in these very rooms. Maybe that's how we learn about the stages of abstraction and what the reasons might be. Or maybe some of the previously abstracted characters wrote down their state in some notebook. Also, Goosework herself wrote that we will still be able to look into the room of each character we have now. And it makes sense, because as we know, each character will be dedicated to a separate series. So far, we've only seen the inside of 3 rooms, the room of Pomni, Kaufmo, and Gangle. Of course, we have also seen the tent from inside and outside, as well as a few other locations. On top of that, we also took a detailed look at the concept of the Amazing Digital Circus. I didn't understand the crow's nest. Was it created for a character, or does someone already live there? Although we didn't see this nest in the first episode, perhaps a new character will live there, a butterfly, but we don't know yet if it will appear or not. I've also gotten comments that maybe Kane and Bubble live there, but I'm not completely sure about that, because I didn't see that nest in the pilot. Maybe it's some kind of decoration, but the nest may appear in the second episode for some kind of assignment from Kane. But let's not forget that we also have a lot of glades where new locations or quests from Kane may appear in episode 2. And also one of the most interesting issues for me is the void. A huge space that is not clear what it is for. None of the characters know what it is, and even Kane himself doesn't know it. At the end of the pilot, we are shown that somewhere far beyond the void is a monitor that has been used to run an amazing digital circus. Whether this will be a way out is an interesting question. I'm hoping that episode 2 will tell us at least something about it. But I was wondering, what if the void drives the characters insane? After which they become abstracted. What if upon entering the void, the characters see that very exit through the monitor, and when Kane brings them back, they start thinking more and more about that exit? This theory could prove that Kane is evil, as drawn in the room at Kaufmo. Maybe he's just keeping the characters from leaving the digital circus. When they're on their way out, he just brings them back in. That being said, when Kaufmo came back from the void, he started talking endlessly about the exit, so we're told by other characters. He then locked himself in his room and became more and more insane, after which he abstracted himself. Perhaps other characters abstracted themselves in the same way, but unfortunately we don't know anything about that yet. But I can say with 90% probability, someone will abstract in the new episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. You and I might all think it will be Kinger, however things could be different. As we know from Goosework's post, Kinger is the oldest character from Digital Circus. He's 48 years old, which means he's not easily abstracted if he's been able to last that long. But we also see the opposite, that Kinger's craziness shows at some points. For example, when Gangle was standing next to Kinger for a long time, he didn't notice her right away and then got really scared. Or when Jack sent Kinger and Gangle on a mission to find the Gloiks, Kinger was clearly nervous. The other characters were never once as shaken as Kinger was. Though on the other hand, Kinger is quite an outgoing and appropriate character. Oh, and Goosework herself asked us, who can abstract besides Kinger? As if to imply that he's not the next one to abstract. I have a theory that it could be Regatha, because she's thinking of coming out and has told us about it herself. On top of that, she's been infected by the abstract. So what if Kane can't fully fix the characters? Perhaps that's how the first stage of abstracted manifests itself. First, when she saw Kaufmo, she told us that suddenly Kane could fix him. And second, when Kaufmo beat Regatha badly and she started glitching, Regatha asked Pomni to find Kane, as if she realized she was on her way to abstraction. I have this theory that after a character becomes infected from abstracting, something starts happening in their head, after which they go crazy and abstract themselves. If we think back to the paintings in Kaufmo's room, we can see that he met with the abstracted one, which means that he could have infected him. After that, Kaufmo himself began an irreversible process. He started thinking more often about going out, writing writings on the walls, and drawing pictures where he becomes angry and then abstracted. Now, it is possible that Ragatha may abstract next. There are people who are suspicious of Pomni, but I believe that she just came into the digital circus and hasn't come to terms with what's going on yet. That could mean she's still adapting to the new environment. Oh, and besides, why would the developers add a new character when it can be abstracted in the next episode? I also subscribe to the theory that in order for someone new to come in from a character, one of the existing characters has to abstract, so someone definitely has to leave in the new episode. And I believe it will be either Kinger or Ragatha, because they have the best chance of abstracting. But if we look at the character concepts that came out before the first episode, we don't see a replacement for Kinger, but we just might see a doll or a ghost instead of Ragatha, because they are very similar to Ragatha's structure. But there's one problem. Goosework said that we haven't seen the character that will appear in the new episode yet. What exactly she meant by that is unknown at this point. Either it's a character that refers to the first episode, or it refers to all the official posts. So, time to summarize everything I've told you about the possible plot of the second episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. First off, there is a 90% chance that a new character will appear in episode 2. Why 90%? Because based on the information I have, Goosework can sometimes play jokes on us and say things that aren't true. Yeah, that's a possibility. Second, I think we'll be told something more about abstraction and its stages in the second episode. Third, we'll probably be shown new locations, as well as the layout of the characters' rooms in the Amazing Digital Circus. Fourth, I think the developers should tell us more about the Void, because it is behind it that the exit can be found. Fifth, we should learn more about Kane, because he's too obscure for us right now. He is an artificial intelligence, has a very strange personality, comes up with tasks for the characters, and sometimes he doesn't tell us something that is a mystery. I'm sure both the other characters and Kane himself should give us more information and insight into how the digital circus works and if there is a way out of it. What theories about episode 2 do you have? Be sure to share with me in the comments and I'll be sure to answer you. Also, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Good luck everyone, and bye-bye.